your work with Soul started from the beginning. Of
Right. Reverend Bill Lytle is the one that introduced me to Soul and invited me to join the effort.
Oh,
Bill Lytle at the time was the pastor emeritus of Madison Square Presbyterian Church. He was very involved here. And Jack Jackson was the first director. So I worked with all the directors, starting with Jack Jackson, and I think there might have been 5 or 6 in the history of the organization.
right.
Don being the latest.
Yes. Let's see. What roles? What have you done?
I have been on the board. I've been program chair, been on the program committee for many, many years, except for the COVID period when there wasn't a program committee. And I've also taught many, many classes here.
Any stories or memorable anything that anecdotes or any kind of of your time teaching or any
Yeah, one course that I taught was called Problematic Passages in the Hebrew Scriptures. For example, there is a section that prescribes the stoning of a recalcitrant son, a son who can't be disciplined. It's in the book of Deuteronomy. There's another passage that commands the people who are going into the Holy Land to wipe out 7 Canaanite nations in order to clear the area of idolatry. So those are some of the problematic, or ethically problematic sections of the Bible. You don't expect the Bible to have ethically problematic sections, but they do, because I believe that the Bible is a spiritually or divinely inspired work, but not necessarily divinely revealed work. So I believe that it was a product of human beings who wrote under a divine inspiration, but they weren't God's stenographers taking down every word that God was repeating. In other words, instead of the words of Scripture coming from the top down, they came from the bottom up. People striving to see in their own minds, to discern the will of God.
Oh, let's see. What? Well,
And another thing that I enjoy doing, I co-taught with a number of other faith leaders. I taught a course on I think the image of Jesus in Judaism and in Christianity. I've taught with a number of good people. Kelly Allen of blessed memory, taught with Dr. Frank Garcia, who's a professor at Trinity University. So I've taught Stan Williams, who was the interim pastor at University Presbyterian Church. So that's been a wonderful opportunity as well.
that's wonderful. Let's see. What most inspires you about past, present, future?
And I want to also mention something else.
Good.
Why I got involved, why Bill Lytle was able to talk me into this.
Okay.
Years ago, we had what was called the San Antonio Community of Churches. And it included all the mainline Protestant and Roman Catholic churches in San Antonio. And each February, during the 4 Sundays of February, they would have a school of religion. And I was on the planning committee and I taught in the school of religion. And every Sunday night in February, from 7 to 9, classes would be held. About 400 people would come, and the classes would be held in 2 different congregations that were near each other. For example, one was Laurel Heights Methodist and Christ Episcopal, or Laurel Heights Methodist and Temple Bethel, or St. John's Lutheran and First Presbyterian. And it was fantastic. And I was craving something like that after the San Antonio Community of Churches went out of existence. So I was looking for that kind of an opportunity. I think it's so important to have interfaith religious education.
Wow, that's what Stahl is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, inspires you. That was inspiring.
Yeah.
Right there. And what do you see about of course, this is the 20th anniversary, or it was last year in the middle of the shutdowns, but what do you think about the next 20?
Well, I was very active on the program committee, and as I say, in other endeavors in the Soul Center prior to the COVID scare. And before COVID, there were very few national opportunities to have adult education. Now, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of courses you could take. So one of our great challenges is to create a niche product that you can't get anywhere else, because you can get anything you want today on Zoom. You know, the Smithsonian has classes. A lot of religious organizations have classes. Political organizations have classes. So what could we offer that can't be obtained elsewhere? And I believe that the Soul Center is extremely important for three reasons, and I think that people have to keep this in mind. Number one, it's a faith-based organization, and for religious organization to do something positive is very important, because religion's gotten a bad name today. Secondly, religious literacy is important, because so much of the world's history is based on religious events. And so what is the doctrinal basis for some of these events? What is, history and religion are tied together so much. And third, I think that learning about religious subjects of other people can decrease prejudice and increase understanding.